Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 30th part of What If Deku Had a Robot Wolf. I hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 30, Third Round, Start. Ladies and gentlemen and all those wonderful colors in between. Welcome back to the UA Sports Festival. President Mike said loudly, "Can I get a hell yeah?" He said, getting a loud cheer from the crowd. That's what I'm talking about. Eraserhead sighed. Why did he put up with this? Oh right, the alternative was to do Midnight's job. Not fun. The recreational games had finished and now it was time for the third round, with a large concrete ring now standing center stage in the arena. Now, here's the event everyone's been waiting for. It's time for round 3. President Mike continued. Our first matches have already been chosen, so now it's time to dash. If you say duel with a stutter, I am throwing you out and asking Lady Nagant to take your place. Eraserhead interrupted, really tired of Mike trying to rip off Yu-Gi-Oh! That, and his attempts were all terrible and he very much liked his hearing. President Mike gulped before continuing. As I was saying, it's time to duel it out. And who better to do it than our first round competitors? First off, she's dominated the first 2 rounds and shows no signs of stopping. Please welcome, Yusako. Izumi stepped out of the tunnel and made her way towards the ring, Durandal waiting back in the tunnel. She wouldn't be able to use him during the fights, so he had to wait back in the tunnels for her to finish. Midnight was still standing on the stage, on one side of the ring, with Cementos sitting opposite her on a chair made of cement. And he may be small, but he's got a big heart. It's grape juice. President Mike continued. Big heart, Minoru? What the hell are you smoking up there, Mike? Izumi thought as she walked up into the ring, Minoru standing opposite her at the other end. He did not deserve such a nice introduction. It was then that she noticed that Minoru looked distracted and sad. Huh? What's up with him? Oh well, that wasn't going to stop her from punting him out of the ring. Now then, Midnight said, I've already been over the rules, but, just in case, do either of you need a reminder of them? Both of them shook their heads. Midnight had gone over the rules for the third round before the recreational games bargain, and she made sure everyone knew them. Plus Izumi had watched the past festivals, so she already knew the rules. Just keep one for all as 6% and I should be fine. That should be enough to kick him out of the ring, she thought as she prepared to dash forwards, waiting for Midnight to start the match. Are both of you ready? Midnight asked, raising her whip into the air and begin. I forfeit, Minoru suddenly said, just as Midnight started the match. Both Izumi and Midnight looked at Minoru with confused looks on their faces, as did most of the audience. This was not what anyone expected. The first match of the third round would go, ending with one of the competitors forfeiting at the start of the match. You are, okay, Midnight said, sounding confused. Grape juice has forfeited the match. Yusako passes on to the next round. What? Izumi muttered, completely confused by what just happened, as well as disappointed that she didn't get to kick him out of the ring. Why the hell did Minoru just forfeit the match? They'd only just started. Well, that was anticlimactic, President Mike said quietly. Minoru turned and walked out of the ring, heading back towards the tunnel, his head held low. Izumi just stood there for a few moments before she too headed back to the other tunnel, meeting Durandal at the entrance. Mike was right, that was anticlimactic, Durandal remarked as he formed up alongside Izumi as she made her way back to the 1S stand. I mean, you didn't even get a chance to hit him. Yeah, Izumi replied, still confused by how that round had gone. Why would he forfeit the first round like that? He could have at least tried to fight back. That way it would feel like I've earned this win. But like this, it feels like I didn't earn it and I'm only moving on because my opponent just didn't want to fight. Maybe he knew you were going to kick him out of the ring and didn't want to give you the satisfaction of hitting him, Durandal said. Izumi shook her head. I don't think that's the case. When I saw him in the ring he looked sad. Sad? Durandal asked, sounding confused. Why would he be sad? I don't know, Izumi said. I know this goes against my better judgment, but I think we should ask him about it, she said, wondering why she was even thinking about asking Minoru of all people what was wrong with him. Are you sure about that? Durandal asked. He's made some unsavory comments about you and the other girls. I know, Izumi said, but, as much as I hate to say it, it's a hero's duty to help anyone in need. Even if said person is a perverted pile of trash. Good point, Durandal said. You can check up on him when we get back to the 1A stand. Izumi nodded as they proceeded back towards the rest of the class. No doubt the other girls were just as disappointed with how that match went as she was. Upon arriving back at the 1A stand, she was met by Achiko, Himiko and Mina. You okay, Izumi? That match was, well, rather disappointing, Mina asked. I'm fine, Izumi replied, just disappointed by how easy that was. I didn't even fight him. How am I supposed to prove myself to the heroes watching us if my opponent just gives up the moment the fight starts? Hey, don't worry about it, Izumi, Achiko said with a bright smile. You still have 3 more fights to go. I'm sure you'll be able to prove yourself to those watching during that. That's if I get to the last round, Izumi said. I'm not even guaranteed to win the next round. I'll be up against Tentacle next. You mean the kid with the multi-arms? Himiko said. Why do you think you'll be up against him? For all you know, Mei could win the next match? Mei, really? Achiko said with a frown. Do you think she has any intention of even trying to win this? Yeah, you're right, Himiko said with a sigh. Realized my mistake the moment the words came out. We've known that girl long enough to know that she's just going to spend the next 15 minutes showcasing her equipment. She'll probably have given her opponent a good number of her babies as well, just so she could show off more of them. Yeah, Izumi said before she looked around. Hey, where's Minoru? I don't know, Hanta replied, sitting down next to Denki. He hasn't come back yet. Which is weird, as he should have arrived back before you. Okay, there is definitely something up with him, Izumi said. First he forfeits his match, and now he hasn't returned. What's going on with him? I'll go look for him, Rikito said as he stood up. Someone's got to keep an eye on him anyway. The 3 girls nodded before they headed to their seats and sat down. So weird that Minoru would forfeit his match like that? Toru said. Well, I didn't hear him say anything, Kyoka added. It's so annoying, Denki said. How are we supposed to decide who won the bet if he forfeits the match? Bet? Izumi asked, tilting her head slightly. Yeah, we bet on how long Minoru would last against you, Hanta replied. Unfortunately, neither of us won because he forfeited the match. I bet he would last for seconds, Denki added. Denki, Hanta. It is unbecoming of hero students to engage in something as impulsive as gambling. Tenya said, arm chopping towards the 2 students. Denki let out an annoyed sigh whilst Hanta smirked. Thanks for being so predictable, Tenya, the tape shooting teen said. Tenya's jaw dropped, shocked that they would make a bet involving him. Anyway, the next match is about to start, so let's just forget about that perv for now, Momo said. Izumi nodded before she focused on the arena below, hoping to use this opportunity to see what else Tentacle really should learn the names of the 1B students can do, because there was no chance that Mei would take this fight seriously. Still, she couldn't help but feel worried about Minoru, which was something she honestly never thought she'd do. Alright. Now it's time for the second match of the first round. Present Mike announced loudly. He's got those multi-arms and can do almost anything with them. It's Tentacle. He said as Tentacle walked onto the field, shockingly bereft of any of Mei's babies and his opponent. She's gotten here thanks to her equipment, but can they help her even the score? From the support course, it's Mei Hatsum. He said as Mei walked out onto the field, decked head to toe with her babies. And carrying the Rorsch railgun. Okay, why was she bringing that out? You are, Izumi, Durandal said. I don't want to worry you, but I've zoomed in on the teacher's box, and Kana is currently smiling. Oh no. Izumi, Kyoka said, I can hear what's going on down there, and Mei just said she wants to win this quickly so that she can fight you. Oh hell no. The moment midnight started the match, Mei shot out 2 grappling hooks and shot forwards with great speed. Tentacle quickly brought his arms up to block her incoming kick, but the moment Mei's feet made contact with his arms, she shoved the Rorsch right into his face and fired. Now, Mei wasn't an idiot. Mad, yes. Crazy, most definitely. Completely uncaring of any safety regulations or people's personal space whatsoever. Oh hell yes. But she was smart enough to know the amount of force needed to kill someone. So, she had the Rorsch set to a low power mode and had a non-lethal round loaded into it. The round bounced off of Tentacle's head, but the force of the impact sent him staggering backwards. Mei quickly kicked off away from him and landed back down. She then charged forwards again and high-kicked Tentacle right in the head, sending the large student to the ground. He didn't get back up. Tentacle is unable to continue. Midnight announced, Mei Hatsum takes the match. What the hell? President Mike shouted as two medic bots entered the field to carry Tentacle to the infirmary. I didn't even get time to comment on the fight. Good, Eraserhead added with a tired sigh. You are, okay. Didn't see that coming, Achiko said, just as surprised as everyone else was at how that match played out. Who knew the crazy inventor girl knew how to kick our arses, Hanta remarked. Well, her mother is Lady Nagant, Suyu said. It stands to reason that she would have been taught how to fight, Ribbit. Why couldn't my fight have been like that? Izumi asked, still annoyed by how her last match had gone. Well, if there's a good thing to come out of this, your next match is shaping up to be much better, Momo said with a smile. Yeah, Izumi said, although I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Well, it's now Ijiro's time to shine, Nina said with a smile. There's no way that real steel guy can beat him. Are you sure about that? Nito asked, because I managed to copy his quirk during the previous round, and it's a lot like Ijiro's. Wait, you mean 1B has a student who can harden their skin as well? Izumi asked, with her notebook in hand. Sort of, Nito replied. Long used to Izumi's interest in quirks, he could turn his body into steel. Oh, that's interesting, Izumi said. That means he can harden his skin a lot like Ijiro. So, in other words, the next fight is just going to be a fight between a rock and a hard place then, Himiko said with a frown. Either this is going to be really interesting, or really, really boring. Hey, don't say that, Mine said with a pout. I'm sure it'll be an interesting fight. What will be interesting? Mei asked, standing uncomfortably close to Izumi and still wearing all the gear she had brought into the fight. Ahatsuyasha, when did you get here? Izumi asked, sputtering in shock at the sudden and quick appearance of Mei. Just now, Mei replied with a smile. So, looks like we're fighting each other in the next round, she said before she suddenly zoomed in quite close to her. Fight me with Durandal. Well shit. Of course, Durandal said with a sigh. Of fucking course she wants to fight you with me coming along as well. Why could I see that coming a mile away? You want me to what? Izumi asked, not understanding why Mei would want her to bring along Durandal. Bring along Durandal to our next fight. Mei said with a smile. I want to see what you two can do against me and my babies. Okay, Izumi said nervously. I'm not sure if it'll be a good fight. I've only ever worn Durandal in a combat situation once, and that was during the entrance exam. Come on, I'm sure you'll do well out there, Mei said. How else are you supposed to showcase what you two can do together unless you fight together? And who better to fight against than yours truly? Come on. I'll make it worth your while. Izumi sighed. She didn't have anything to lose fighting her, apart from running the risk of accidentally using the quirk emulator. But that shouldn't be an issue, hopefully. Alright, I'll bring Durandal to the fight. Fantastic. Mei said with a smile. I'll go prepare my babies. She said before she rushed off. And she's gone, Kyoka said. I swear that girl drinks an ungodly amount of caffeine. Well, the energy drink she gave me earlier had me muttering at high speed non-stop for about 5 minutes or so, Izumi said, and she said she takes it all the time. What was even in that stuff? Achiko asked. I dare not ask, Izumi replied before she sat back down and waited for President Mike to announce the next fight. Alright listeners, it is time for the third fight of the first round. President Mike said from 1A. He's harder than he looks, it's Red Riot. And, from 1B. He's as hard as steel, it's real steel. Izumi sweat dropped. Both their introductions were the same, she thought, as the two students walked out onto the field. The two students with similar quirks sized each other up as Midnight went over the rules. Once she started the match, the two students activated their quirks and started punching each other, and continued to punch each other. Seriously, they didn't even try to dodge each other's attacks. They just stood there wailing on each other. It was boring, oh so very boring. Even Izumi, who was normally very interested in such fights, was bored and had gotten out her phone. And it lasted so long, it just went on and on. It went on for so long that Rikido came back during the fight. So, what did I miss? Rikido asked as he walked back to his seat. Not much, Denki replied, just May proving that she can kick hero arse, and Ijiro and Real Steel are just punching each other. I see, Rikido said as he sat down. I found Minoru by the way. He's in the infirmary saying he's got a stomach ache. But when I spoke to him, he sounded depressed and didn't want to speak to me. Minoru's depressed? Hanta said, I wonder what happened. He was looking fine earlier. Well, whatever it is, it can be dealt with later. This is so boring. Toru said loudly, venting her displeasure at the fight and at Minoru. Why are you just standing there? Make it interesting for crying out loud. They can't hear you, you know, Kyoka said, looking at something on her phone still. It wouldn't hurt if they at least moved around the ring instead of just standing there tanking hits. I mean, it shows that they are very resilient, Izumi said, pointing out one of the good things to note about the fight. It shows that they can use their quirks to help protect people by taking the hits meant for others. I guess so, Toru said, still boring as dash. As Elaine. A female voice suddenly said out loud. The kind of voice you would expect to go era. Who the fuck is playing as Elaine? Denki asked, looking around for the source of the main menu music for a ship-based mobile game. Why was the volume so high? Izumi said, blushing a deep red as she quickly muted her phone's volume. 17 pairs of eyes quickly turned towards her, the faces they were attached to showing a wide variety of expressions, from surprise, confusion, and grinning, oh so many grins. Mina especially was grinning as she leaned over the greenette's shoulder. Ah, I see you're a woman of culture as well. How cultured is she? Himiko asked as she looked over Izumi's other shoulder. Oh, that cultured, she said with a smirk. Fuck, Izumi whimpered, really wishing she had brought her earpods, or made sure the volume was lowered. Wait, what's the biggest hero nerd on the planet doing playing a warship-based mobile game full of ship girls? Denki asked, rather confused by this sudden revelation. Wouldn't she play a hero-based mobile game? It had a hero crossover, okay. Izumi blurted out, with female pro-heroes from all over the world as ship girls. Of course it does, Hitoshi said with a sigh. Of course, Izumi would get a mobile game about ship girls just because it was getting a hero crossover. And of course, Izumi would keep the game just because of it. That was just such an Izumi thing to do. Well, he couldn't really judge her since he too had as Elaine, for completely different reasons. Ah, so that explains why she has Star and Stripe wearing a rather nice swimsuit as a secretary. Then Himiko added before Izumi, in an attempt to avoid further embarrassment, closed the app. Which quickly proved to be a mistake. Not because of her phone's background, which was a picture of All Might posing heroically, but because of the other apps. Izumi, Nina said as Izumi quickly turned off her phone. Why do you have several other cultured apps installed on your phone? Apps such as Goddess of Victory, Nick, Arknights, Girls Frontline, Blood and Iron, Heart and Soul and Blue Archive? She asked with a smirk as Izumi's face turned bright red. Yui turned towards Satoshi. Doesn't Azalane have a Code Geass crossover as well? She asked, managing to get a full sentence out. Yep, Hitoshi replied, not at all noticing the small smile on Yui's face. Had Colin, Cornelia, Nina, Anya, Ayano, and Suzaku, the latter of whom somehow got turned into a girl, as ship girls. He explained also had Lelouch as a manju with black feathers for some reason, and the story revolved around trying to turn him back into a human. Also had him as a piece of auxiliary equipment. Rather weird now that I think about it. Sounds like something out of a fanfiction, Denki remarked. Yeah, Hitoshi said, but so do quirks when you think about it. Prior to the awakening of quirks, such abilities could only exist in fiction, he said, Yui nodding along with him. There were a few moments of silence before Denki decided to break it. You know, have you ever wondered, are you really real? He said, are we really flesh and blood humans, or just characters in some story with no control over our own actions? Everyone turned to look at him with a mix of confused or surprised looks on their faces, but mostly confusion. What? Denki asked. Kyoka shook her head. Where do you get these crazy theories from? I swear you keep pulling them out of your arse sometimes. Oh hey, they've finally stopped fighting, Toru remarked, sounding bored out of her mind. All eyes turned back towards the ring, and indeed, Ijiro and Real Steel had stopped fighting, because the two had collapsed. You have got to be kidding me, Midnight muttered before turning on her microphone. Red Riot and Real Steel are unable to continue. We will give them time to recover before having a tiebreaker to decide the winner of this match. Well, that went exactly how I said it would, Izumi said, trying her best to distract the others from what happened earlier. Yeah, I kind of should have seen that coming as well, Mina said with a frown. She honestly was hoping that Ijiro would be able to knock Real Steel out. But seeing that he had a hardening quirk as well, it became a lot harder for either of them to win a straight-up fight. It was as Himiko said, it was a fight between a rock and a hard place. And neither won. Well, I should go get ready for my match, Momo said as she got up and headed towards the waiting room. Good luck, Izumi said, wishing the raven-haired girl luck in her upcoming fight. Not that she needed it, seeing that she had both a nano-core and the ability to create anything. Maburo Mikami did not stand a chance. Unless she had something up her sleeves as well. So, Himiko said with a smile as she leaned close to Izumi, causing the girl to blush. Who's your favorite airship girl? And you can't just use the name of a hero. Has to be a ship girl. Izumi gulped, not really wanting to answer that question, for multiple reasons. Well, not because she didn't have a favorite ship girl, she did, Reno. They were both hero nerds after all. She just didn't want anyone to judge her because of it. Or find out that she has her Reno Bunino skin. What's this about, Reno Bunino? Himiko asked with a smirk. Izumi gulped. She just muttered that all out, didn't she? Fuck. Himiko, please stop, Hitoshi said. You're making her feel uncomfortable. Sorry, Himiko said as she backed off. Izumi breathed a sigh of relief, glad that Hitoshi convinced Himiko to back off. There were just some questions that she did not feel comfortable answering. Like questions concerning other women, especially girls she liked. Her eyes slowly paned over towards Achiko, her blush reducing to a light red on her cheeks. She knew the two of them were close. She was her friend after all, her first female friend since, well, forever really. But recently she's been feeling differently towards the Gravity Girl. She'd been blushing a lot more around her, and noticing the girl's more attractive qualities a lot more. The small blush marks on her cheeks, her auburn hair and matching eyes, the latter of which sparkled like stars at times. She seemed so beautiful. Like an angel. Yes, Achiko can be a bit clingy at times. Why do you think she likes to call her Hoguraka? But she liked being close to her, even if she had to be removed from her body with a crowbar at times. But there was no way that Achiko would be interested in her like that, no way. They were friends, yeah, just friends. She was lucky enough to be friends with her and several other girls that anyone would be glad to have as a girlfriend. There was no way Achiko or any of them liked her in that way. She just wasn't attractive like they were. Besides, she didn't know if she was even interested in other girls. Achiko suddenly blinked before she turned towards her and smiled brightly. Izumi blushed slightly before focusing back down towards the ring just as Present Mike announced the next fight. Alright folks, it's time for round 4. Present Mike said first out, she can create anything she wants, so let's see what she makes. It's Creati. And her opponent, a trickster in the making, capable of fooling you with illusions. It's Maburo Mikami. He said as the two girls walked out and into the ring. I'm sorry, what? Kyoka said, looking surprised. What is it? Denki asked as Midnight started the match. That Maburo Mikami girl, Kyoka said, pointing towards the ring. She just said, and I shit you not, yes fam, this is going to be so lit. Like what the fuck? What? Was the response from most of the class. Well, everyone apart from Fumikage. He just let out a defeated sigh. Dark shadow then popped out of his chest. Oh great, Kami's here. You know that girl? Toru asked. Fumikage nodded sadly yes. She's always been an odd one. She's friendly but odd. She can also make illusions, Dark Shadow added. Maburo Mikami is out of bounds. Midnight announced, Crusade takes the match. That are utterly useless in a fight, Dark Shadow continued, as most of the class sweat dropped at how quick the match was. Cammy just stood there, made 5 copies of herself without doing anything to mix herself up with the copies, and got punched out by Momo. Did she really think that Momo wouldn't be able to notice the real her? Inesa asked, seriously, I would have noticed the real her. Well, maybe. It's more likely I would have just sent her flying out of the ring. Well, I can see some use of making illusions during a fight, Izumi said, notebook in hand, but she's going to have to find ways to hide herself whilst making her illusions. What I don't get is why she didn't make a smokescreen around her. Nito wondered. I copied her quirk and made a smokescreen. And she did the same later. Why didn't she do that here? She's forgetful at times, Fumikage added. Ah, that would explain it then, Nito said. That girl really needs to learn how to make smokescreens. One of the vestiges spoke within Izumi's mind. Although she didn't know which one. Yep, Izumi said before she turned towards Achiko, only to find her missing. She probably already headed to the waiting room for her match. She frowned, a worried look on her face. She knew far too well what it was like to be on the receiving end of Katsuki's explosions. And that was him holding back. Here, he wouldn't be doing anything of the sort, he could go all out on his opponents, which meant Achiko was going to be on the receiving end. She did not want to see what Katsuki was going to do to Achiko. If there was one saving grace, it was that he didn't know that she was close to her, so he hopefully shouldn't feel the need to hurt her too much due to being friends with her. Still didn't make her feel any better about watching the fight. Don't worry about me, Izumi. I'll be fine. Izumi jumped and looked around. Was that Achiko? No, that couldn't have been her. She wasn't here, so she couldn't have spoken to her. She shook her head and focused on the field below. Her mind must be playing tricks on her again. Yeah, that was it. There was no way Achiko just spoke to her. After all, she wasn't a telepath. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 31. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 31. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.